Hello everybody, welcome to the program. It's Catlike Reflexes.
Catlike Reflexes.
Hello everybody.
What was that? Okay.
I am your host, Bryan Piitz. Welcome to the program. I am joined today by the PodCats, Jay Radko and Derek Howard. How are you doing, gentlemen?
Good to be
Doing
back.
well.
Good. Jay, you haven't been here on the show?
It's been a while. Just timing finally worked out.
Sure, well, welcome back.
Thank you.
What have you been up to lately?
Not much.
Not
Work,
much?
some video games, taking care of my daughters.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's about it.
Can you combine those? Playing video games and taking care of your daughters?
With the older one, yeah.
Yeah.
Leah and I will go head to head with Soul Calibur, and she can kick my butt.
Oh, yeah?
It's awesome.
Whoa. I look forward to the day that my daughter is old enough to play Soul Calibur.
But Jade's not so much. Jade is more of a, okay, it's my turn, put on SpongeBob.
Oh, I see. Who do you guys end up? Do you have your own particular characters when you're playing Soul Calibur?
Valdo's my boy.
Yeah.
I like the Gimp.
Yep.
Because not only because I enjoy his movesets, but because he really disturbs Aaliyah and it gives me an edge. But Aaliyah will pick anybody.
Oh, yeah?
She can just kick my
Just hits the
ass.
random
She
button?
did-
or-
well, not so much random, but she'll she'll just start moving the cursor across the characters and go, oh, I'll play her, and then she'll go and she'll thrash me.
So it's hard to battle against that because you don't know what you're going to get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Makes it fun though.
That's good. Well, it sounds like you're having a good time.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back to the program.
Thank you.
We're so glad you're able to join us today. Derek,
Yes.
what's happening? What's shaking?
Just a lot of video games. A lot of video games. Playing Valkyrie No Boken from 1990. Yeah, 1990. It's an old Namco game for the NES, and because it's Namco, Sophia's sister Cassandra from
Yeah, I
the
remember
Soul
her.
Calibur series has an alternate costume that is a green-clad, wing-helmeted Valkyrie, and
Yeah, I
that
remember
is
her.
the Valkyrie from Valkyrie No Boken.
Wow.
It is a Final Fantasy game that is super hard. It's just bad.
It's just,
I'm a glutton for punishment.
Are you enjoying it, or is it bad good or bad?
I'm enjoying it. It's not great, but it got a lot of positive reviews. So I just want to put myself through the paces and experience it as much as I can before I go, no, this is really crappy. I'm gonna let it run.
Sometimes you just gotta see it through to the end,
That's
right?
exactly
like a bad
it, yeah.
book sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the twilight of fantasy RPGs
Well,
for
the
the NES.
no, it can't be that
The mistake there is starting. I've been since we're talking about what we're playing. I've gone back recently to GTA 5, but now I'm playing more online than I did before. I used to just sort of play in the single player. Although I'd finished the campaign, I would play in the single player area because there was no other people who were better than me. I could just blow people up and do whatever I wanted.
Pat your back there.
Yeah, but in the last few days or so, I've been playing it online, and I've been enjoying it. I'm only at like level 12. Like I'm a baby in that game. So, but if anybody out there wants to play, my gamer tag is Compley, Compley, and you can come and play with me. If you like darts, I'm your guy. I think I'm the only guy in all of GTA Online that likes playing darts multiplayer. So if that sounds like your bag, if you want to grab a $75 game and play a 25-cent mini game on it, I'm your guy. So
Yeah.
come check it out.
Do you use a headset when you're on multiplayer?
Not usually, because I usually only use a headset if it's people I know.
Okay, so no one who may have joined in on your game heard you spontaneously yell 180.
I did score 180 several times. I'm very good at GTA darts. No, but I did discover yesterday, which I'm horrified that although I wasn't wearing a headset, my Kinect was
Yes.
was
yeah.
broadcasting
yeah.
what was in the room, and I didn't know that. I didn't realize. So, I think one time I had a phone call conversation with, like, somebody to fix the water heater, or, like, whatever. It was just like, anyway. I'll be that guy singing in the shower who doesn't get it's a joke, you know? But anyway, GTA 5. It keeps going. It's so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's an amazing game. Speaking of amazing games, you two gentlemen and I are of a similar vintage. I happen to know, and I'm revealing to the listeners right now, that we all enjoyed the Commodore 64 platform when we were younger.
I adore my 64, my Commodore 64.
That's reaching back. That's good.
That's right. Yeah.
I live in
The
video
Commodore
games.
64 for a lot of people was kind of their introduction to having the video game platform. Like I know personally, we never had a traditional gaming console. We didn't have an NES or anything like that. My first current gen gaming platform was a GameCube I bought in like 2003. But we had a Commodore 64, and in my case, it came about kind of. It was very fortuitous because my father and some of his buddies at work won the lottery. Now, don't get too excited. It wasn't the big lottery. But you know how like he worked at the factory and people put in their money and they pool their tickets. Between like, I don't know, like 10 or 15 guys, they won like, 50 grand or something. And by the time they kind of divvied it up between all the people, everybody had like another like $1,000 or $2,000 in their pocket, which in 1986 was pretty good. But still, we're not millionaires, is what I'm saying. But my father had two young boys at home and decided he wanted to invest in their future and buy a computer. Because he knew, computers still were fairly new. He wanted to get a computer and so that we could learn to like do our homework on it and like learn how all these things.
The fool!
Yeah. And really, we just played games on it. Although, to be fair, my brother, who took a shine to it in the programming sense, today makes a very good living as a computer programmer. So it probably worked in his end. On my end, not so much. I do a podcast where I talk about gaming once in a while. But it was a really great gaming console. There were a ton of games, and I'm going to leave it open to you guys. Derek, was it your first gaming console?
Oh no. Dad brought home a Pong, which
was it the one with the paddle with the wheel on
so
it?
it was the original Pong, which had two paddle wheels attached to the wooden console itself with four switches. That was the death of CRT televisions back in the day, because my brother and I would play that so much. My older brother by 2 years, we would play that so much that it burned the zeros and the center line down the center of the TV.
Oh no.
From then, my dad got really angry and he's like, well, I'm getting something that's not going to be done that way. He got us a separate television set, even though his still had the zeros. And he got us an Atari 2600. And that'll never... And yeah, the zeros got burned on that because of Pac-Man and Air Sea Battle. the zeros on the Atari 20s. It was just such a contrast issue. So anyway, we finally... my dad's like... Well, we're getting a Commodore 64. It comes with its own monitor. You guys just stay up there in the bedroom and don't come out and play it and do your homework. And
the fool!
The fool! Yeah, because the commercials back then, there were 4 or 5 computers for the personal home computer market back then. The Commodore 64 was really, really centered around Canada and parts of the United States. The Apple was also in contention. The original Apple IIc, I think it was also in contention with the Tandy one. The Tandy 1000.
That was the Radio Shack one.
That was the Radio Shack one. Over in Britain, they had the ZX Spectrum. I think that's what it was called.
Excuse me. Just Brian's blowing his nose. I have a little bit of a cold right now, so if you hear like weird, gross sounds, it's just me.
I'll even go back to that. We might be able to even edit it out, perhaps, and perhaps not. So the ZX Spectrum was in Britain. And those were the home computer consoles that a lot of kids were being sold to as spreadsheet, do your business and finances, connect over an internet.
That's what a 9-year-old wants. It's like, yes, I can do my spreadsheets now.
And you can play games for the little ones. And that's what we all did. Games were really expensive back then.
Yeah.
40 or 50 bucks for...
In 1980s dollars.
Yeah.
No less.
And it's not like you had 30 hours of replayability, although amusingly you had about 500 hours of replayability because that's the only game you had was Pac-Munch. And yeah, they were really, really shitty games until about maybe 5 years in on the cycle, and then the games just got really good. They exploded, and something called Fast Copy came out for the disk drive.
Right.
Yeah.
It's back.
Now, we were just talking about that before the podcast a little bit. Jay and I met when we were, well, I don't know what age.
Young.
We were very young. It was in the 80s, and our brothers were buddies, I guess, at school.
I think, or was it Cubs? Maybe they were.
Or Boy Scouts. Yeah, I can't
Boy
remember.
Scouts, I think.
I was young enough. I don't really remember, but
Yeah.
I do remember going over to the Radko home with my whole family and a big stack of blank diskettes.
Yeah,
These were
the floppy disks.
These were 5 1/4.
Yes.
Yeah.
5 1/4 discs, but if you punched them with a hole punch in the side, you could do both sides.
Yeah.
There was a little device you could get to do it, but really, if you just used a hole punch, it
hole
did
punch.
the same thing, and you could do it on both sides. And I remember sitting there just copying games between each other. Like we brought games, and you had games, and I think that's how gaming really took off on the 64 was through piracy.
It was piracy. It really was.
Great. Now Interpol is going to come after us.
That's right.
That was one of the developers. Interpol.
It does sound like a
Yeah, it really does.
this game cracked by Interpol. Remember those cracked screens?
The music on the there's YouTube videos out that are dedicated to the chiptune musics of those games. So the opening of, say, Blue Max, which was the it was one of the best airplane games for the 64 you've ever seen. The opening would just be that cracked screen, and you'd have this really rockin' music, which it sounds straight out of Scott Pilgrim. It was just amazing music back then.
Yeah, the great music and all the different designs people had. Like
Yeah.
for those of you maybe who weren't there, if so to speak, if you were too young or whatever, a lot of people would get a game and they would crack it, meaning they would make it copyable, and they would usually add their little tag to the beginning of the game, so as you loaded it, the first thing you would see is their cracked,
Their tag.
I guess they're called tags, right?
In a graffiti sense, in a piracy sense, you see it now in movies, music, and everywhere. You'll see, this was cracked by this team. Well, back in an audio-visual format, that's what they did, and they did it wonderfully.
They did it great, and some of these openings were really elaborate, and they had, like Derek said, great music, cool graphics, and it was just kind of cool. It made you feel a little bit dangerous. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I didn't realize till I was much older that all games didn't just have those.
Yeah.
I thought just every game had a crack tag at the beginning. But yes, if you can look those up at on YouTube, like Derek said, and some of them are they're definitely an artifact of the age.
The music's
But yeah, cracking those games on the Commodore really opened it up. Did you have any favorite games, Jay? Like, did you have I had a few go-tos, but I want to hear what you say.
I'm having some difficulty remembering exactly what I played on the Commodore 64 because we've had a couple of consoles. I think this was still on the 64s, but SSI, a company called SSI, used to do strategic
Yeah.
role-playing games.
They
So
did.
there was like a Dragonlance series for
Oh yes, I remember that.
SSI was tight with TSR.
Yeah, with TSR, and they had all sorts of Dungeons and Dragons, Pool of Radiance, and
Yeah.
Heroes of the Dragonlance.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
And I
yeah.
love those little
were
turn-based strategy games. Those were my favorites.
Wasn't there you had your stat screen, wasn't there a map in the corner, and then just text dialogue like, dwarf attacks 20 HP?
Yeah, something like that. And you sort of move your characters, and to fight a guy, you'd see your little icon of your character on the screen, and the icon of the monster, and you'd push the arrow key towards the monster, and then there'd be your guy would swing its sword, and there'd be a flash on the bad guy. Dwarf hits for 25 points of damage.
Nice.
Or actually, in my case, it was whoosh, miss.
Miss.
Whoosh, miss. Because I have the bad luck when it comes to Dungeons and Dragons.
Critical fail.
Critical fail. Well, thank God they never did that.
The Dungeons and Dragons games, a lot of those role-playing games are really good because the Commodore 64, in essence, really was designed for word processing and spreadsheets. So you give it a stats-based game full of number crunching. Oh yeah, that thing's shiny.
Yeah. What else?
64K of awesomeness.
Really.
And another, the original Bard's Tales
Ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
were on the 64, and we just loved those. Those
I
were
didn't
great.
play a lot of those. I was a little young for RPGs. I found them a little bit too mathy. But my brother was... I was 7, right? My brother was really into those. And I remember one time, I think it was Bard's Tale, one of them. Or it might have been Ultima. I can't remember. But anyway, you couldn't save this particular game. There were no saves. And he had the Commodore turned on for days because he couldn't save it.
Uh-huh.
And so he just had it on, and it was sort of like he'd leave and just leave a note that was like, don't turn this off. I was, whatever. And then I was young enough, and he was, my older brother, and I was like, I want to play the Commodore. He's like, you're not playing it. I was like, you're not playing it right now. He's like, no, I know, but you have to leave it on because like I can't save my game. And I was like, no, but you're not even playing it. I'm going to play it. And then I was like, I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to turn it off. And you stick your finger out like, I'm going to do it.
I'm not touching you.
And he bluffed. He was like, fine, do it. Do it.
Oh, that's the worst thing you do to a 7-year-old.
And I was like, okay. And I turned off his game that he had spent days working on. And he was my older brother, and sometimes older brothers kind of like rough and tumble a little bit each other. That's the only time I really remember he beat the shit out of me. Like he often would like kind of give you a noogie or like a little little nudge in the side, little Charlie horse or whatever, but he just beat the shit out of me. He was so angry.
He brought it on himself.
I brought that on myself.
When you're the older brother, you don't see it that way.
No.
Okay. I'm the younger brother, so I clearly...
Yeah. I do you remember, if you were playing those kinds of games, do you remember Defender of the Crown?
Ooh,
I remember the title. I don't think I've ever played it.
Defender of the Crown was sort of a medieval fantasy type game, but had really, for the time anyway, realistic graphics in between some of the action. So you do like jousting or sword fighting or something, and then there'd be images in between of like you and the princess, and they were roughly realistic for a Commodore 64.
Yeah.
And they would like kiss, and like I think there was one part where she drops her dress and you kind of see like the crack of her bum or something, and it was like, oh my god, there's porn on a computer. Oh my god.
And thus the internet was born.
Yes, that's right.
The advocacy groups.
Yeah. So you guys both, I take it, were RPG guys.
No, I played anything.
Oh yeah.
I played anything.
Did you have some favorite Commodore games?
Yes. Blue Max, like I described, was just amazing. Some of the old Enix summer games and winter games.
Oh, I remember those.
Wasn't it Epix?
Yeah, I think it was...
EPIX?
Yeah, you're right. It was Epix. I thought it was Enix, ENYX, but...
oh, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Oh, no, we could both be wrong on this one.
That's true. Oh, it was called Acme. Oh, okay.
The summer games were just so much fun.
Summer games, winter games.
Yeah,
they were
California
Olympics.
games.
Yeah.
Olympics. They were summer games.
Those were like, I remember those games.
There was also California games. It was amazing.
Hacky sack on that was actually really fun.
Half pipe, skateboard.
Yeah.
And it had Louie Louie was the theme song in MIDI at the beginning.
That's great.
Remember that?
No, but that's wonderful.
Also, World Games was a good one.
Oh, I didn't play that one.
World Games, I don't know if it was the same company, but it was called World Games, and it was in the same format, a whole bunch of different sports from around the world. So I think there might have been, one of them was cliff diving.
I remember cliff diving. I don't know if it was World Games or not.
I'm pretty
sure. It might have been Summer Games, because cliff diving had this thing where it ranked you out of 100 points, depending on your dive. And you were really high up on one of those cliffs of Gibraltar type cliffs. And you dove off, and depending on how straight as an arrow you were, depending on the wind strength and course, you could actually be blown into those rocks and fail.
I'd always
or
hit the rocks.
You could hit the water dead on, and it was a shallow pool, and you had to jerk that joystick to the side to like quickly surface.
Yeah.
And
Or if you went straight through, you'd hit the mud in the bottom of the water and just drown.
Stuck there, yeah. And every now and then there'd be a pelican which would fly by.
That sounds familiar, yeah.
So yeah, that cliff diving was a great fun one.
Yeah.
There were keyboard centric games that I used to really enjoy playing. Hunt for Red October.
Oh.
All right, to all the PodCats listening, to everyone in this room. I have never played a game as intense, and I'm talking 35 years of gaming history here. I've never played a game as intense as Hunt for Red October for the Commodore 64. The keyboard is the entirety of the control panel of the sub, and you're in caterpillar mode, and you have to escape tons of subs, and you got to do it silently. It allows you to do knuckles, which are like underwater 90-degree turn baffling, which throws everything off. You have missiles which are attached to wires that you can remotely control, and if the wire breaks, then the missile is lost. It's tense, and yeah, and it's based off of the book. The movie hadn't come out at that point. The book was really popular, and it was based right off the book. You can't find that game anywhere. And it's really hard to emulate just because of modern keyboards and things. But that was one of the best games to ever come out of the Commodore 64.
Wow.
And I used to also play another one called Echelon, which was a very space-esque fly around. 2001 meets the Mass Effect Game 1 part where you're riding around in the Mako trying to find planets. Jay, for you, there was a couple of text-based adventure games, including The Hobbit, which had about 80% upper screen was just the very slow downloadable images of a hobbit hole, and then the bottom 20% was just text. You start off in a hole.
I hated text-based.
Had a little arrow. What would you like to type?
I know people like to wax nostalgic about text-based adventures. I couldn't stand them.
I hated those. I'm sorry.
I could never ever get out of the first.
I didn't mind them. I just didn't know how to play them.
Nobody knows how to play them. They still don't know how to play them.
Look, hey, it did something. Oh my god, I've been here 3 hours. I tried. Look, it worked.
And now, like, the only way you could play them is if you had a cheat sheet and it told you what to do. I don't think that's a game so much as
and don't forget they didn't have the internet back then.
Exactly.
In fact, they didn't, and games weren't in encyclopedias. There was nowhere to get your information from unless it was a computer magazine.
Yeah.
Or
you called the hotline.
Yeah, the hotline
where they gouged you for extra money.
I spoke about that in a previous podcast.
Yes, you did.
I remember that one.
Yeah. Yeah, those text-based adventure games, they were tough.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever beat a single one.
They're more like a party trick. Like, okay, everybody sit down. We're going to try this. Try it out. And it's like, you're in a room. Okay. Go.
What's the
like, that's how every one of them went. But, yeah.
I think, sorry, just really quickly, I think for my brother's 12th birthday, I programmed a game for him. It was the Van Halen logo. I had to design it all up in the poke and the peak and the basic programming format. And I made 3 different colored Van Halen logos fly around the screen while Jump played in the background as a MIDI.
Nice.
Here you go for your 12th birthday. My brother looked at it and was like, thanks, Derek, and then walked away. And I spent days on that.
Cried.
Well, actually, I cried, but I also gave up programming at that point, too. I was just like, well, my talents aren't appreciated here.
It's okay. Programming was it was a fad anyway.
Yeah.
Nobody does that anymore. Do you well, midis? I guess these aren't really games, but I remember you could just download midis.
Yeah.
Or not download, but copy from your friends different midis, and we listened to a lot of them. We had.
Did you?
We had a game. We had a program just called Jukebox.
Huh.
And it came with like dozens of different midis that you could choose from, and they were all like MIDI versions of present day hits. But the best one was Axel F.
Yeah.
Because it already kind of sounds like a MIDI in a way.
Axel F being the theme to Beverly Hills Cop, the instrumental by, I can't remember the guy's name. Faltermeyer or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on. So.
Yeah. So, we had
Axel
all the
F.
MIDIs. Personally, I'm just slightly younger than you guys, so I played a different kind of game. I liked more of the action, sort of arcade style games. So I played a lot of Airwolf.
Yeah.
Airwolf was amazing. Had great
Choplifter.
Choplifter.
I remember Choplifter.
Choplifter was
so
good. There was a game called Ghost Chaser that I liked, and it happened to be on the other side of Airwolf on the disc.
The flip side.
The flip side of
Because
Airwolf.
discs were double-sided back
Yeah.
then. Actually, they were single-sided until you took that hole punch.
Yeah,
Yeah, you took the hole punch to them, and then I still don't know how that works, but it does. And so anyway, you played Ghost Chaser, which I played again recently on an emulator, and it's still pretty hard.
Ghost Chaser.
Also, all the summer games, winter games were like I think everybody
There
played
it is.
those. One of the only games I had that was purchased was License to Kill, based on the 1989 movie 007.
Was that Dalton?
Yes, that was a Timothy Dalton one, and it was the licensed game from that movie, and it was really freaking hard. Like, oh my god, I don't know. I'm sure I never finished it, but
Jay, did you just dogpile who did Axel F?
I did. Axel F was done by Harold Faltermeyer. You got it.
Right.
Yeah. Although there is a I don't know if you call it cover or a remake of it by Crazy Frog.
All right.
Boo. I don't like Crazy Frog.
Did either of you have? There was a cartridge for the Commodore. I think it was called Snapshot, if I'm not mistaken.
They had a couple of different cartridges. I don't remember Snapshot.
No.
off
This
the top of my
particular
head.
one, it was just the Commodore. The whole Commodore computer, by the way, for those of you who weren't around at the time, was all in one unit.
Yeah.
There was the keyboard and the CPU and everything was all in one unit, and the only thing sticking out of it was a cable for your television. You
Yeah.
put it on a television or a Commodore monitor, which was basically just a television, or joysticks and peripherals.
Yeah.
But it also had like although most of the games were from a disk drive, they had a cartridge port in the back, just like a Nintendo kind of cartridge port. And you could put different things in them, and one of them was called Snapshot, and you jam it in the back there, and it just had a little button on the top, and while you were playing, you could hit that button, and it would stop what you were doing and
Take
give
a
you...
screenshot.
No, even better. I don't know if you could, but what we used, it was basically a Game Genie for the Commodore 64. So you could plug it in, push the button, and I think it was a blue screen would come up, and it would say, like, what do you want? Do you want infinite lives? Do you want infinite ammo? Do you want to be indestructible? Do you want to skip a level? And it didn't work for all games because it kind of just had... It wasn't specific to different games like a Game Genie was. So what it would say was, okay, I want infinite lives. They say, okay, go back into your game, lose a life, and then push it again. So you go back into your game, you die intentionally, and then go back into it, and it would know whatever value that was, that's the one you want them all of. So if you wanted infinite ammo, you'd go in, you'd fire one shot, and then go back in, and it would say, that's what you want infinite of. So you could get infinite lives, infinite ammo. They had all these different things, and like, oh man, I used the hell out of that.
You must have been the best kid on your block, I'll tell you that.
That's right. It was so satisfying
Jeez.
because those games were really hard and kind of punishing. So
Yeah.
it was really cathartic to just like
Go wild.
basically God mode, if you will, and go in and just be really awesome at Airwolf.
Your eyes lit up, Jay. So
You're
what is it?
When they're talking about the cartridges, it just brought a memory back of, yes, I remember my favorite game was a plug-in game, the cartridge. It was called the Temple of Apshai. And it was a little maze runner where you'd run around and fighting serpents and little gargoyles and
I
stuff.
believe I remember this
And
game.
it was like the precursor to all the Dragon Age games that are
Sure.
out now, Dragon Age and Fallout, and you collect as someone I heard read it somewhere say it's basically you going around collecting bigger and bigger pants.
Wow.
So yeah, that was just a flash memory of Temple of Apshai. Yeah, that was awesome back then. It's so crappy now, but
You guys remember Bruce Lee?
Absolutely, I do. In
Woo.
fact, I played it recently on my YouTube channel.
I
Oh,
think I just killed your chair.
sorry. No, I think that was the broken chair.
Oh, okay, good.
And I should have told you that there was a broken chair to begin
Booby
with.
trap chair.
So sorry about that.
That's all right. That was fun.
Okay.
Catlike Reflexes, only the best. Only the best.
Some of us are currently standing.
That's right.
Bruce Lee, where it was a ninja temple runner, I guess would be the best way to put it. You run around,
Yeah.
you try and collect lanterns while a ninja and a sumo wrestler chase you.
Yeah.
That
which is not how sumo wrestlers work. But
Oh, they were. Yeah, the
But it
sumo
was
wrestler
good.
was like jumping across chasms and like sprinting.
and he would yell at
that's-
you. He'd go, "Mom, no." I remember that sound he'd make, and the ninja would go, "Birding,"
Yes.
and when they ran, it was like,
Yeah.
no. Anyway, yeah, I played that recently. I have a
Good.
YouTube channel called Admiral64 where I emulate some Commodore games that I used to know and talk about them. And I played that one recently, and it really holds up.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun, for sure. Does either of you remember Geos?
GEOS.
Yes.
I-
I think that's how it's spelled.
It's not ringing a bell.
Geos, when we got our Commodore, it was one of the later versions of it because we were kind of late to the party, so to speak. But it was Commodore's attempt at a graphical user interface. It was kind of like Windows for Commodore. And it didn't work very well, but they promoted the hell out of it. So when we got our computer, we got discs for Geos, and there was a book about like all the things you can do with Geos, and there was kind of like a cursor that could kind of move around. And
You know, I think I kind of remember something about that. I think I knew a guy who had one of those.
yeah, it didn't work very well, but it was a thing, and they were trying, right? This is sort of before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were still pushing that it's a good home operating system as opposed to just it's a good pirating video game system. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it was. I don't remember if any of you guys had remembered that.
No.
It was sort
Sorry.
of this nebulous thing that people didn't really know what it was. It was like, why? Okay, I loaded it up. What does it do? And it's like, there's just like an arrow, and you move it around. Is this a game? I don't know. It turned out it was just Windows, basically. But yeah.
Crazy Taxi. Space Taxi. Space Taxi.
Oh.
Space Taxi.
I didn't really. I don't think I played that one.
Spy versus Spy.
Oh,
Yeah,
of
I remember
course.
that one.
Good.
Yeah, Spy
Where you
vs.
had
Spy.
to hide. I had this
Hide
one where
booby traps in the
and you
on
would
the
hide a
levels.
spring in the far medicine cabinet, and you'd the guy would open it, and he'd fly through 6 different rooms and slam against the opposite wall, and you'd be like, vindicated. I don't care if I win or not, I just won.
Impossible Mission.
Oh yeah, and
Oh,
part
that
two.
was the
Yeah.
best.
Stay a while. Stay forever.
And on that note, I can't play Diablo, which has the old guy in the center of town there. I
Yeah,
can't remember.
Deckard Cain.
Deckard Cain, because he's like, "Oh, hello, friends.
Stay a while
At
and
which point,
listen."
and he says, "Stay a while," and I just cut right there.
Stay forever.
That's all I yell.
Yeah, that's where you had that little Han Solo looking kind of character who could do the flips over the
Yeah.
Yep,
robots.
yep.
Yeah.
I played that game a lot, and I couldn't even finish it. There was something glitched about our copy of it, like maybe we were missing a disc or something. And so when he moved between one tower and the other, you go through this hallway, and he would just freeze, and we'd have to turn it off. We never finished that game, but we played it all the time because it didn't matter. It was so
was a good
much
game.
fun. I recently played it. I got a version of it for the Game Boy
Interesting.
or DS or something like that. It was like a.
Like a remake kind of idea?
No, it was
Or the
there was a
original?
remake, but it had the original on it because I guess
Ooh.
it was probably like 12K or something. And I finally got to finish it, like 25
Did ya?
years later. Yeah, it was
that's
great.
all right.
Yeah, that one also similarly elevator action.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember that.
I don't remember it for the 64 because I played it on so many other consoles that
Right.
it's just faded in time. But,
Right. I know this wasn't an exclusive, but I enjoyed Burger Time.
wasn't Ghostbusters on the 64?
Oh, of
Yes.
course it was.
Yeah, I remember
With
that
the,
now.
where you drive the really, really big Ecto, and it's got a vacuum on top, and the
Yep.
ghosts are flying to you, and you take...
And you got to go around and stop the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper from getting together.
And there was you didn't have the Ecto 1 if you couldn't afford it. You had like a gremlin.
Something like that, yeah.
You could,
Oh,
you could
man.
upgrade your vehicles and stuff.
Yeah, you put
Like,
more...
made money and
Put marshmallow detectors on it or something.
Marshmallow
remember that,
detectors.
Yeah.
And you always tried to trap Slimer without actually using either of the streams. You would just wait until
He was really close to the
trap.
twice,
and
yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Excuse me.
Ghostbusters, that was great.
That was a great game. So what we're just coming on the end of our podcast here. I want to ask you maybe a somber question. What became of your Commodore 64? I assume we're not using them as our current machines anymore.
No. I can't even remember what exactly happened to the actual. We got rid of it. We upgraded eventually to the Commodore 128.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then the 64 just sort of one day was no longer there.
That's about right. Yeah.
Disappeared.
Yes.
Ours
That's right.
ended up in a box, and we kept that box for years and years, thinking
And you put
one
that-
day we'll set it back up again.
Box and another box, and you mail that box to yourself.
That's right. And then the discs were all in a shopping bag eventually, and they all got kind of like dusty and cat peed or whatever
Warped,
in the
yeah.
basement or something. Maybe not cat pee, but you know what I mean. And it was like, well, we don't have any discs anymore, so I think at one point it just kind of went. Do you remember what happened to yours?
I don't remember what happened to the 64 itself. I know the last time I used it, I was on the internet on 300 baud with
Yeah.
one of those cartridges in the back of it.
That's right.
But ultimately, I think it just got swapped out. Now, here's the interesting thing: is I actually kept the Commodore 64 monitor, and that single Commodore 64 monitor lasted me right through the NES era, the SNES era. I hooked up my Genesis, my Master Drive. I hooked up all my consoles to that because it was such an amazing unit. Even my Neo Geo hooked up to the Commodore 64 monitor. And when I was in college, I acquired a second monitor. And then when I graduated college, I got 2 more. So I actually have 4 Commodore 64 monitors, which are spread out amongst the community right now.
They are very good. I didn't have one in the day, but you got me onto it, and I managed to get one like at a we're getting rid of stuff sale, and it was like, oh, look at that.
Yeah, 2 of them of mine are out in the old bookshop,
Oh, yeah.
Surfin's old bookshop, and 2 of them are in his garage. Yeah, so Commodore
So it kinda
64
lives on a little
monitors. Yeah, it's never going to die out for me. I have a great attachment to that whole system.
Well,
Really
as some
fun.
of you listening might know, I when I'm not hosting the podcast, I work at a local museum where we have a Commodore 64 accessioned in our collection.
Wow.
Does that make you feel old?
That's just horrible. Yeah, it's, oh my god. It's a museum piece now.
It's a museum piece just like us, gentlemen.
Oh dear.
All right, let's wrap it up.
Catlike Reflexes.
Comma 8, comma 1.
Run!
The music at the beginning and ending of this episode of Catlike Reflexes was 8-Bit Party by Oz from their album 8-Bit Empire. I discovered their music on Jamendo.com, and so can you, or you can find a link to it at our website, www.catlikereflexes.com.